What's going on, guys? It is Pete Nova from the Face Off Sports Network. Championship week is here, and I have you covered with my defensive rankings. We had a pretty successful league week last week. We had the Atlanta Falcons, the Buffalo Bills, and the Packers all ranked inside the top four in our final rankings drop on Twitter, and they all finished inside the top four. If you're not following me on Twitter at Supernova38 with two R's, make sure you do so on Twitter because I always drop my final rankings, and I also drop adjustments throughout the week because with injury reports and a lot of things changing throughout the week when this video is recorded, I always make sure to make adjustments and so on and so forth. I will also try to see if I could drop a graphic updated on YouTube here for the community page. I'm working on that to see if I can add that throughout the week. But without further ado, let's just jump right into it. My tier one is going to start off with the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins take on a Browns team who, Dolphins are favored by 6 points on the road. It's a 40.5 point total. So not a very high total. When you look at this Browns offense, they're giving up 13 points to opposing defenses in fantasy over the last 5 weeks. That is the highest in football right now in fantasy. DTR at quarterback, whether it's him or Jameis Winston, both guys are turnover prone and they're just not very good. And we saw DTR get sacked 5 times last week. He threw 2 interceptions and only threw for $150. So I really like the Dolphins, and they're my favorite stream on the week. Then moving on to the Buffalo Bills. The Bills are playing the Jets. They're 10-point favorites here at home. It's a 47-point total here. And, Aaron Rodgers looked a little banged up towards the end of the game last week. I expect the Buffalo Bills to come out strong. Last week, they didn't start the hottest, but they finished strong and ended up inside the top four. And so they're taking on a Jets team that right now doesn't have a lot to play for. And a lot of these guys are banged up on this team. So I like the Buffalo Bills here in the 2 spot. Then we have the Colts, and the Colts disappointed last week. They still gave up a solid number, but it was nothing to write home about given the plus matchup against the Titans. But the Colts take on a Giants team who they're 7.5 point favorites on the road. This Colts team, and it's a 40-point total. This team is playing for a playoff spot, while the Giants are playing for that number 1 pick. And right now, the Giants are giving 10.4 fantasy points per game to opposing defenses over the last 5 weeks. The Giants have not given up less than 11 fantasy points over the last 4 weeks to opposing defenses in fantasy. They're giving us pretty much a 10.5 to 11 point floor, even when bad defenses are playing against them. So I like the Colts here in this spot. Then we have the Chargers, and look, Chargers get some extended rest. This defense has not looked the same over the last few weeks, but, they play a Patriots offense who, is not playing for much outside of just, developing some of their young talent. Drake May does look like he is going to be a guy for sure. And I like Drake May coming out in the process. But 5.5 point favorites on the road with extended rest and a 42.5 point total. I like the Chargers here in this spot, taking on the Patriots. Patriots have given up 12 sacks over the last 4 games, so they're averaging about 3 sacks given up. So I like the Chargers in that spot there. Then going into tier 2, we have the Philadelphia Eagles here at 5. And, the Eagles are an interesting play here. They're only 2.5 point favorites against a Dallas Cowboys team that's not very good, but the Dallas team has been playing okay under Cooper Rush, to be honest with you. I mean, they just beat the Buccaneers last week. They've given some teams some fits right now. And it doesn't look like Jalen Hurts is playing. We're really unsure at this point. So I am a little weary with this Eagles defense right now because, I'm not totally concerned about what happened with the Commanders last week. Field position really screwed them up, but I do worry about field position with Kenny Pickett. Is Kenny Pickett going to put this defense in bad spots where maybe, offense scores some points because, maybe he turns the ball over in their own territory. And for what it's worth, I mean, this Cowboys offense, Cooper Rush is playing some clean football. I have to give it to them. They're getting the ball out quick. Cooper Rush is getting the ball out the fastest out of any quarterback in the NFL right now outside of Tua Tagovailoa. So there's not a lot of sacks to be had right now, but I'm going to keep them there at 5. Then we have the Los Angeles Rams here. The Rams take on a Cardinals offense that lately is just kind of sputtering. They're giving up 6.2 fantasy points per game to opposing defenses in fantasy. And I don't know if James Conner is going to go. Even if he does, he looks banged up. Trey Benson was ruled out last week. So it looks like it might might be Michael Carter as the lead running back on this team. And this Cardinals offense just got knocked out. Kyler Murray is not playing very well. He's turning the football over, and this offense just really isn't clicking. And so I like the Rams here, -5.5 at home. I like the Rams here in this spot. Then we look at the Kansas City Chiefs here at number 7. The Kansas City Chiefs take on a Steelers offense right now. They're on the road and favored by 2.5 points. It's a 43-point total here. And right now the Steelers are giving up 7.2 fantasy points per game to opposing defenses in fantasy. Russell Wilson is turning the ball over a decent amount. And he's taking sacks. And right now, George Pickens, until he gets back into the lineup, this offense doesn't look that great. And even with Pickens in the lineup, I don't know what the ceiling is for this offense. Chiefs defense is starting to play better. And so I like the Chiefs here at number 7. Then we move to the tier 3. We have the Las Vegas Raiders here. And yes, that is a Rams graphic of Jared Verse. I forgot to swap that out, but so just ignore that. But the Raiders here at number 8. The Raiders have a matchup against the Saints, and we just saw what the Saints offense did. They got completely shut out on the road now against the Packers. Much better defense than the Raiders, but the Raiders defense is playing gritty. Now Max Crosby's out for the year, but I like the Raiders as a solid floor play against the Saints offense that's not very good. I think yards and points will be at a premium for that offense. So I'll take the Raiders here in that spot. Then we have the Seattle Seahawks, and I wanted to have the Seahawks higher going up against Caleb Williams and the Bears. Caleb's been sacked 60 times this year, most sacked quarterback in the entire NFL with 2 weeks left to go. But the problem is I do worry about traveling on a short week, in the cold. You look at what happened to Denver last week in a divisional game. Right here we have a team like Seattle who's going on the road in a cold weather environment like Chicago. Sometimes you don't know what team's going to show up on a short week, especially from a toughness standpoint, with bumps and bruises, not a lot of recovery time from the week before. So that's why I don't have Seattle higher, but it's a good defense that's playing much better under Mike McDonald over the last stretch of the year here. And then we have the Pittsburgh Steelers to close out tier 3. I like the Steelers. It's just a good defense overall. They're going up against the Kansas City Chiefs here. Like I said, a 43-point total, not very high. Kansas City Chiefs offense is getting better, but when looking at some of the defenses that are underneath this, that you could still have ranked or just in general, looking at the slate, there's not a ton of plus matchups. And so, at this point, like you look at the Steelers, like I'm going to ride with a team that's they're just a good defense. Like, yes, as the defense, got banged up the last 2 weeks. Yes, Ravens are a good offense. And, the Chiefs haven't scored 30 points in a single game this year. I'll take the Steelers there just because it's a talented defense and I'm hoping for some decent floor there. And then we move on to the last and final tier. It's going to be the Jacksonville Jaguars here at 11. The Jaguars get the Titans, who are giving up 10.8 fantasy points per game over the last 5 weeks. Now, it is not Will Levis. It looks like it is Mason Rudolph, who we saw what happened last week. This offense moves the ball better under Mason Rudolph, and they don't turn the ball over as much and take as much sacks. But, Jaguars are favored -1 here at home, a 39.5-point total. That's the lowest total on the week. So we get a really solid floor here. I wouldn't blame anybody for starting the Jaguars over the Pittsburgh Steelers this week, to be honest with you, and even the Seattle Seahawks. I could totally understand that. Both the Steelers and the Seattle are playing on short weeks. And but I like the Jaguars here against the Titans. And then we look at the Bucks here to close us out at number 12. The Bucks are taking on the Panthers, and Panthers are actually taking a decent amount of sacks, over the last few weeks. Their offense was looking better. And yeah, I mean, they did have a decent game last week against the Arizona Cardinals. But, this is the second time the Bucks are going to see this team. Bucks are coming off of a loss. They're pissed off. It is a divisional game, and they need to win this game after getting punked last week against the Dallas Cowboys. So I like the Bucks here at number 12. But that's going to do it for today. As I said, guys, I always update my rankings. I apologize if you didn't see the updates. I always drop them on Twitter. I will see if I can drop them on the community tab here on YouTube. I'm not super familiar with it, but I'm going to give it a try as the week goes on. But if not, just check out me on Twitter. Just look me up at Supernova38. I always drop them around 10 o'clock on Sunday before the games. I know some games are happening on Saturday, so I'll probably drop an updated graphic a couple days this week. But even if you don't have Twitter, just type it in on the search bar on Google and just type in my name, and you should be able to see me updating my rankings. Please make sure you're paying attention because I'm trying to drop these early for you guys so you guys have time. But at the same time, dropping them early hurts me because the injury reports and there's some information that doesn't come out that I don't have yet at the time of dropping the video. But congratulations on making it, guys, to the Fantasy Football Championship. It's been an awesome year. If you're not subscribed already, please hit that subscribe button. We have a ton of content coming out the end of the season. I'm very excited. It's going to be football focused, not just fantasy focused. But until next time, I appreciate you guys. This is the last video of the year. Thank you so much, guys. I really do appreciate it. And I will be back, of course, next year doing this. So stay tuned and happy holidays. And I'll see you next time.